So today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. But today we want to talk about conversations slightly to really just information as we know it. They say the worst conversation is the one that never happened. So interpretation happens, assumption happens. But that's not really today's talk. Today I want to really kind of discuss more in depth our conversations and what happens and what is taking place. Slightly. Now, what I mean by that, information, we're just information echoers. We're just talking, and our information is not always accurate, but a lot of the time it actually is. But then people sometimes have this question within their conversation, well, where did you get this information from? Or who told you that? How do you know that? And this is where I think it's interesting, because once you start hitting more, I guess, scientific to more educational sides of life, people get really curious about that. Well, how do you know that? Is that scientifically proven? Blah, blah, blah. And I think what's fascinating is for us to even understand any information to begin with, we have to embody it into our brain, call it our own, and walk around. And then occasionally someone says something and it sparks conversation, and then we say what we have been told from potentially a researcher, a teacher, and who knows where they got that information from. From the dawn of time, we have been echoing messages to one another through, well, conversation. And I think what's so fascinating is once we truly embody information to call our own, it's our own, but did we find that information? No, but in the world of technology, to just anyone finding stuff, oh, well, my name behind that, or my name is behind that, or, well, who did say that, or, and it leads to a lot of just like nonsense in my opinion, because I'm thankful for a researcher. I see myself as a researcher. I'm constantly studying in life, but if I can give you information that you can eventually call it your own, I think I achieved something great. And sorry, there's tons of mosquitoes around here. It's nasty. But so many people take so much pride in that name, or, well, unless that person says it, or that person, more or less I'm referring to, has a doctorate, some kind of credentials behind it, well, I can't really take this for trustworthiness. Forgetting to kind of embody the information as their own, using your own intuition to be like, well, does this make sense? I kind of can see that point of view, or maybe not. The moral of the story I'm getting at is, through conversation, we're constantly exchanging information. This information can be truthful to completely non-truthful, but we have this ability to have intuition, this ability to embody information as we go along, call our own, which then comes into our intuition to the point we can take something someone said to us, puzzle more bits of life to it, call our own, because it is our own, because we are vocalizing our own words, but we were blessed by someone else to get those words, and as we continue this echoing effect, well, life gets interesting. I think it gets interesting in the way our conversations go, because we're constantly just building life and more concepts and more structures, and over time, with more technology being put together, I think you're going to start seeing something very interesting. The interesting part is, so many people say the same thing when it comes to success, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to discipleship, mentorship, leadership. All these things have core values and structures, because eventually the messages start smoothing in together to the point you can't say, well, such and such was the founder of that, such and such was the creator of that. These statements can be true, but as we grow as a whole, we're always constantly, again, embodying the information, calling it our own, and allowing that to be a part of our subcultural, to our DNA of who we are, to the world around us, so we can call this reality. And the more we start, I think, having these type of conversations, we're going to start seeing the beauty of sharing, of communicating just concepts, and stop worrying so much about names, or titles to those names, because I don't know, I find it kind of, I guess, troubling when I'm having a conversation, someone's like, well, how did you find that, or who told you that? I'm like, I would read so much, man. This is kind of hard for me to go back all that far just to get that information to satisfy your supposed ego or supposed, I'm just not understanding this concept, so I'm going to try to dodge the questions of actually taking the mental effort to think some more. I'm so tired of that, and I think a lot of people are, and then a lot of people are like, well, just start memorizing names and blah blah blah. I'm like, it's probably a good thing, but it's not what I'm good at. I'm not good at remembering names, and I'm getting better at it, actually. Neat information. By you saying you're not good at it, you're wiring your mind to not be as good at it. I'm actually trying to become better, and on the time being, I know I'm not as good as I should be, and hopefully as time progresses, I'll actually be able to start sharing names. But even within that, I still say this is very true, the core principle. All information eventually has to be embodied into us to call our own, for us to actually have belief systems, to have core values, to have structure, to basically be us. We have to completely embody it as our own. And once that's understood, you see us as servants of one another, as messengers of, one another. And because of all that, it's such a beautiful concept that as time goes on and knowledge just increases, and we're able to stitch it together through technology to just more or less books and all that, you're going to start finding those next big things are going to be very, very hard to find based off we have so much recorded history now that is showing, no, that was discovered a long time ago. That's new to you. Awesome. You just embodied that information. Congrats. And I think that's what it's all about. Because as more and more people can start sharing and connecting in that sharing process, you're going to start seeing, like I'm saying, everything that is so new to be found was already discovered. No one just heard about it. So that lucky person who was the first to echo that, they were supposedly credited for it, not realizing, we all grow together in a system, in a web of information, and us thinkers, us puzzle builders get to express that information out, and that's not the reason why we do it, to be like, we're the first to find it, or we did that, or no. I do it for the love of educating people, for the love of enlightenment, and then just for the love of understanding reality a little teensy bit better, because each day if we puzzle one or two pieces together, it does so much in the long run. This is where we have those quantum leaps of just, I guess, understanding take place. Once all these understandings come together into our lives, and more people start sharing what they know, what they believe, not really caring about, how do I know that? Who gave me that information? We're going to start seeing growth on so many levels. But for the current moment, we have so much people nitpicking, who wrote that, who said that, I think it kind of actually defeats the whole problem-solving, brainstorming mindset. Please, and let me, share this quick. I'm all about people who find stuff and who take hours of time to do this. We're talking thousands of hours at times. Doing test trial reading, blah, 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 over and over and over to find the absolute answer. I admire that. I respect that. They should get credited. But what I'm trying to, share in this is, once that's done into history, now you should embody it yourself as your own and not be so worried about who found that, who did that. Be more worried about, do I understand that? Because that has more power than someone's name. Understanding is everything. And as you understand, you're embodying, calling it your own, and as you call it your own, you're growing, and hopefully you're going to be able to share that with someone else. And that's what matters the most. And again, when it comes to copywriting, when it comes to accrediting people, I'm all about that. I just know for myself, as I was kind of sharing, I'm horrible at sharing names or remembering names. I'm more the person who can consume information. I remember the information, but a name, I'm not so good at that. I will and am trying to get better at that. But as time goes on, this is the thing that's going to be super interesting. I could list 150 names to show you one concept that it took all those people together to come up with that. Who should really take the credit for? Should we just credit humanity for that? Shouldn't we credit God for that, for enlightening us? Shouldn't we credit just us understanding it? I think that has more meaning to it. I really believe it does. Hey, I would love to hear your comments below or your suggestions for future videos, and just more or less brainstorm. That's the point of this type of video. It's rambles, if you will, but the goal is to kind of like unlock parts of your mind to think of, oh, I never thought of it that way, but that's cool, let me think about it, or express it, and let's discuss it, and that's what it's all about.